Welcome to episode 4 of the radio podcast. And I've got Marinelle here. Hey, Marinelle.
Hey, Mr. Kong.
What's going on?
Nothing really.
Nothing?
Oh!
What are we doing here then?
Events, alright.
Okay.
Events, yeah. Tomorrow it's formal day, and there's going to be karaoke in the foyer.
Karaoke?
Karaoke, yeah.
Who came up with that?
I think it was Shibby, or maybe Shuggin, I don't know, but that was a good pun.
That's a good pun, yeah.
Thursday is Ugly Christmas Sweater Day, and we're going to have musical chairs in the gym. And then on Friday is Christmas Colors Day. On your D-Block teachers' doors, there will be a color posted, and you will wear that color for the Christmas assembly.
Very cool. And today was Christmas Hat Day. That went pretty well.
Yeah, it did.
So lots of people with hats.
A lot of people had Santa hats. I was surprised.
Yeah. That's awesome. I still don't have it. I've been trying to knit a little bit, but I can't make a sweater by when is it?
By Thursday. Yeah.
Thursday. So I think I'm going to have to do something Star Wars and make up a sweater.
Ooh, so creative.
I know. So, what are you busy with nowadays? I saw you guys were doing candygrams.
Oh yeah, we did candygrams. There was about 200 candygrams that we had. 200? Yeah, 200.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a lot. But we're still selling until Wednesday or Thursday, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, people can still buy their candygrams.
Sounds good. Well, on today's podcast, we interviewed Kayla and Allie about their new play. Did you know about their new play?
No, I didn't. That's
why?
Cool. Why?
Because it's unknown.
It's unknown?
That's the name of the play.
Oh I get it. All right.
But it's so cool. They were talking to me about it. It's about a mystery, and I think a cop wakes up and finds out like he's missing all these memories. Like, he doesn't know what happened. And also, the other thing is it's an immersive experience because they're going to set up, and thanks to the student council for doing all the Halloween walls and stuff like that, because they're going to use some of them.
Oh, cool.
But they're going to set up the whole drama studio so that when you walk in, you're already in the scene. Mm-hmm. So that's really cool. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
So that's January 11th. I'm looking forward to that. Anything else, Marinelle?
Oh, Women's Empowerment Group moved their coffee house date to January 8th.
Cool, I'm really looking forward to that.
A lot of live performances, and you guys get a treat. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got our Live at Lunch, and we've got that, and lots of opportunities for people to show their talents, so that's awesome.
I'm excited for that.
Yes, very exciting. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Have a good one. High five.
Peppermint oil. So you're supposed to use it for headaches. You just kind of push it in. Mm-hmm. But right now I'm using it to clear my nose.
That's really cool.
Smells good. Do you want to smell it?
Push that into your head?
Yeah.
I thought that was a marker.
It has essential oils in it.
Oh.
So it helps your headaches.
Well, I'm not going to try it.
Well, no, you can just smell it. Oh.
Okay.
If you don't have a headache, you don't need it.
So if you have a headache, you push the thing in your head?
Push it 4 times. And so you can smell them and it helps your headache go away.
And it works?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Wow. That's really cool. It's like magic. Okay. This is a radio podcast, and here's Allie. Say hi, Allie.
Hello.
Nobody can see you wave, so don't bother. Kayla.
Hi.
Hi. What did you guys... why are you guys here?
We're here to talk about the play that we wrote together called Unknown.
Unknown.
Yes.
So, there's no title?
The title is actually unknown. It was recently decided.
So that is a very mysterious title.
That's kind of the point.
It's a mystery.
Yeah.
It's a murder mystery, technically speaking.
So how did you come up with this story?
Working together in the beginning, we were with another student, and we all just kind of came together and brainstormed. The other student that was helping us, he has actually written his own movie, so he had a lot of stuff in the works, and we kind of just drew off of each other's ideas and ended up with this crazy story that we have now.
And I guess you can't talk about it.
We can give you the general synopsis, but we don't want to spoil anything.
Okay, so what is the general synopsis of your Unknown play?
Unknown follows the life of a police officer named Daniel Harris, who has just woken up from a coma and realizes that he doesn't remember the last 4 years of his life. So he doesn't remember his friends, his parents, and most importantly, the fact that his parents have actually passed away 2 years ago. So he's really dealing with a lot of the stuff that he's missed out on that he didn't realize was gone in his life. So it's kind of him figuring out what happened, and within that there are some darker things that he discovers that I cannot elaborate on.
Ooh, that's really interesting. That's already got me hooked.
No. Thanks.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Cool. So when does this come out?
January 11th is our opening night, and we perform on the 11th, 12th, and 13th.
But there will also be a matinee on the 11th, specifically for Delview students. We're not sure yet which classes or how we're going to figure that out because it is in a small area, but there will be a matinee on the 11th, so there's 2 shows on that day.
Okay. So it's playing here in the studio, the drama studio, or do you call that the theater?
I guess the theater, the Patti Hillman
Patti Hillman Theatre.
Theater.
Yeah. How much are tickets?
I believe $8 is currently our price. It is typically $8 every year, and we don't really plan on changing that, I don't think.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to you seeing it.
Yeah.
So how do you typically... Is this the first time you've written a play?
Yes.
Yes.
We did write a short little scene last year, but that doesn't compare to our play at all.
In the One Act Play Festival last year, Kayla and I and another student wrote about a 10-minute scene that we performed in the One Act Play Festival, but that's a lot different from an hour and a half long play.
So if this is your first play, what did you find difficult about it?
For me, I found all the plot the most difficult because, we had a general plot, but we had all these holes that we had to figure out and loose ends to tie up, and it got to the point where we just filled up 2 huge whiteboards filled with plot and information, and it was hectic, but it was fun.
Wow, and you obviously didn't keep all that plot information on the whiteboards. You wiped it off immediately because it's secret.
Yeah, I wrote it all down in my little notebook.
Yeah, we have a director's notebook where everything from our beginning ideas to our final product is all in there, so it's pretty filled up and covered in doodles, but it served us well.
Yeah.
So do you find it handy to keep a notebook of all your ideas so you can go back to it?
Yeah. We also have most of our stuff on a laptop as well, so if anything ever happens to the notebook, we have that.
Always backup.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was handy because we didn't just have our plot, we also had all of our characters and their personalities and their profiles and everything.
So you have to think all of that stuff through.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Cool. So what do you usually, how did you start? What was do you remember the first time you sat down and started talking about this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The first time we actually had a plot idea, it was vastly different. Our original idea was that Daniel, instead of not remembering the last 4 years of his life, he would lose all the memory he had retained in 24 hours the next day. Okay. So we were going in a completely different direction, but it wasn't until we realized how complicated that could be to portray that we really sat down and thought this could be really cool. And I think the first thing that we did was figure out what this mystery was that he's going to discover, and from there it was creating a lot of the twisted backstory, and then we spent a good, I think, 2 weeks just on character profiles, on developing these people that we hope the audience members will fall in love with.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, not only do you have to think about the plot, it's not like writing a novel where you just kind of write it. You also have to think about the fact that people have to act it out, right? So I guess having some experience in drama helped you with that part, because you don't want to get to the point where people are doing the first read-through and it's not possible to do certain scenes, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think that was an area of difficulty for us because all of our stage directions are written in to our script. So while we were writing it, we really had to think about how everyone moves. So it's not just how they say something, it's what they're doing while they're saying it, and how is that going to look on stage, and lighting cues. We did all of that in the original script. So it was more than just plot, it was emotion.
Not just that, is I think one of the biggest differences between writing a novel and writing a play is your plot has to be said. It can't be shown. Because, like, for example, like, he's holding a case file. He can't just show it. He has to read it out. And it's kind of like, how do we make that not awkward?
Right.
Because we can't just have a camera pan to see what's in the case file.
And zoom into stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's quite different. So, in the early days of coming up with the story, like, do you remember what were some of the early difficulties you had and how you overcame them?
I think originally we had the idea of making one of the characters' names an anagram. It didn't end up working out, but we spent, I think, 2 hours one day just on name generator and then on anagram generator, and we would put the name into the anagram generator, and none of it was really working out for us.
Yeah.
So that was a waste of time. But it was a cool idea. It just never worked out. And I think one of our biggest difficulties was, I can't go into detail with it, but one of the characters makes a really important action in the play, and there were several ways that the character could have done it, and we had to decide on one that was practical yet effective, and we asked a lot of people for help on that. So I can't wait for you guys to find out what it is.
I guess part of the fun is trying to figure out how all these plot points, how all these occurrences resolve themselves in the play, right? And I guess there's lots of different ways to do that. But I mean, besides, like, as playwrights now, what are some of the tools you have for kind of showing the audience what's going on besides, the spoken word?
One of the big things that we're working on in rehearsals right now is body language. A lot of our key points in our play are really portrayed through how the actors react to certain events, which is really what is going to bring you into the world of the play, because it is a very emotional experience, which is what we were aiming for. So there are things that can be said, obviously, but also a lot of the content is held within how are the characters reacting and dealing to this. How is, specifically Daniel, the police officer, how is he dealing with realizing he's lost all of this? And that is really very important to try to portray on a stage, but it's not easy. We have a high school cast.
Right, and you're working with some, I think you're working with some new actors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And what, like, do you have some exercises that you have them do? Because I hear about all these weird things that are going on in the drama studio.
Hot seat.
Yeah.
Tell them about hot seat.
Hot seat is this exercise where people get on a stool. And there's a spotlight on them, and they're in character, and you, like, ask them, like, rapid-fire questions about the character, but, like, what's your name, age, parents' names, what do your parents do, what's your favorite ice cream?
Wow.
All this stuff that's never included in the script that they kind of have to create for themselves and then remember. And if they don't know the answer to a question, you ask it again. So, What were your parents' jobs? My parents are dead. What were your parents' jobs? And you'll stem off of what they say. So if they say that their parents died, how did they die? And what was your favorite memory with them? And we go... There's all these little branches off of other things. So I think it's not only a challenge for the actor, it's a challenge for us to come up with questions.
I think it'd be a challenge for me to answer those questions about myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They actually, some of our actors the other day, we had a break in rehearsal and they put us up on hot seat as directors.
Yeah.
And it's difficult. You gotta think very quickly and come up with an answer that you're satisfied with very quickly.
So do you tell these actors to go on, like, what would they have to research? Because you created the characters. So I guess they have to latch on to something. So what do they typically go and look into, or do they just come up with it themselves?
A good example of this would be they would go through the script and find little snippets. Like Daniel, he likes football. We only mentioned it like once in the play, but during hot seat, we asked him like, "Hey, what's your favorite football team?" He's like, "Oh, I don't like football."
We're like, really? Page 26. Read the line at the bottom. You like football. So there's these little things that you need to know about your character. Even if football only comes up once, you need to know it. It's kind of stuff that the audience may never see, but if you really want to become who you're portraying, you need to know it about who you're portraying. So I could be a walk-on with one line, and in that one line I could mention, wow, I really like soccer, and that's all anybody would ever know about me. But I know that I'm 26 and I grew up in Minnesota and my mom is a lawyer. I'll know all these little things about myself, and that's what really sells it on stage.
So even if the stuff that you don't mention during the play, it's still like background knowledge that helps you act.
Exactly. We do that a lot.
Cool. So in terms of what you guys are doing now, it's just rehearsal time and working with the actors, and I guess some of them being new. How are they doing?
It's a little bit difficult, especially at this point, because we are running out of time, and of course we haven't been able to fit in a lot of the core drama work that some of us have had. Ty Stadel is starring as the lead role, Daniel Harris, and he's got 4 years of drama experience behind him, but we have grade 9s. Do we have any grade 8s in our play?
We have Amelia.
Right, we have grade 9s and a grade 8 in our play who may have never been in a drama class, and they're going to be on stage, a lot of people, for the first time. So that is definitely an obstacle that we're trying to overcome, which is why we're doing a lot of exercises. And Mr. Turpin, we're technically the directors, but he's our co-director, and he's helping us out a lot with exercises and trying to teach people the right and wrong way to do certain things.
Right.
Yeah, like sometimes he would catch things that we would never notice, and he would just like immediately stop, and we would all like work through it, which I find is very helpful, because we would be like, "Oh, it's fine." He'd be like, "No, we gotta fix it."
Yeah.
So what kind of? I mean, again, doing this for the first time, like in terms of, because you're directing as well. What have you find in your toolbox as handy tools as a director to, encourage your actors, but to also get the best out of them?
I think the fact that we are actors ourselves, and we have been in a play together, and we've done acting together, we kind of know how theater works and how stage directions need to work and what makes everything cohesive. I think especially if we hadn't been in The Man Who Came to Dinner together, which was a very labor-intensive play, 8 months of rehearsals, I don't think we'd be nearly ready to take on something like this. So I think a lot of it is just past experience. And we're also peers with the majority of our cast, which has its downfalls when it comes to being seen as authority, but it also makes some things a lot easier because we have this kind of dynamic where they don't feel uncomfortable around us, they feel comfortable around us, and therefore a lot of them are easier to open up to on stage. They have less trouble becoming their characters on stage.
Right. So how much rehearsal time is, like, are you rehearsing every day?
Every day except Fridays. Mm-hmm. Except for this Friday we are rehearsing because I typically work on Fridays, but yeah, it's Mondays to Thursdays, typically to 5, sometimes later. The week after winter break, it's going to be later because we're running out of time. But we are planning to have some rehearsals over winter break as well. And we've been rehearsing for, I think, 2 months?
2 months? Yeah. 2 months since the start of November.
Yeah, around there. A month and a half.
I can imagine if, like, I was never in drama. I wanted to be, but I was a band nerd. Playing trumpet in band. But if I were to act in a play, I guess my greatest fear would be to, like, if on the night of the play, like, I'd be maybe frozen. I don't know. That's, like, I don't usually get stage fright, but even so, like, there's lines to remember, and there's all of that, right?
Mm-hmm. Improv becomes handy in that situation. Like, if a character were to forget their line, then we would just work around it.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing else you could do in that situation.
No, absolutely not. There was, I think, during The Man Who Came to Dinner, somebody forgot their lines, and it was a very important line. Mm-hmm. And the other actors made up, I think it was like a 7-minute scene about a dog. Yeah. And it wasn't in the play at all, but it worked. And you just keep going with it. If you forget something on stage and there's an audience, you can't say, oops, I forgot, because then the audience will know. The audience doesn't know the script, and that's the important part. They don't know that you messed up unless you make it clear that you messed up, so you just have to keep going. That's what we're trying to teach our actors.
Because nobody's sitting there with a script going through it. And,
except for us. Just the director.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time in rehearsals, like, if an actor were to mess up, they go like, oops. And we're like, we're not supposed to go oops.
What about because you have a lot of new actors, what do you do to practice to help them with something like that?
At this point, because we are on such a short schedule, a lot of them have been, unfortunately, a bit thrown into the process, and they're just taking it day by day. I'm very proud of our actors. They've come a long way in the short time that we've been working with them, and I don't really have any concerns about our new actors. They're handling things very well, and they're learning the rules of being on stage. So I think we got lucky, and we're lucky that we have Mr. Turpin because he's teaching them as well.
Right.
So.
And teaching us, too.
Yeah.
Good. What's next for you guys? Are you already... I guess you're not thinking ahead to the next one yet.
Spring play. We are not writing it, but we will be in it.
Yes.
And what's that one about?
We actually don't know.
Oh,
None of us know what it is, except Turpin.
Unknown, too.
I can't write another sequel.
Well, just think about it. You could have the sequel, and then you've got prequels.
Well, let's start writing.
Oh, man.
Let's get to it.
Took us 2 months of intensive writing just to get this one down.
Do you watch a lot of plays, or like where do you get your inspiration from?
We have seen a few plays together. I read a lot of books and watch a lot of movies when I can. I'm a bit busy now with rehearsals, but I don't know. I think both of us have always been creative people. We both write. We're in creative writing together, which is very helpful. And a lot of our creative process was just taking off each other's ideas, because Kayla's more of a horror writer, and I'm more of a, I don't know, sometimes sci-fi, sometimes fantasy writer, but more down-to-earth stuff, so we were a good mix.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, are there elements of horror in this play?
Yes.
Yes, I would say so.
Nothing too extreme, but definitely some parts of the play are quite dark.
Okay. Well, I'm really looking forward to it then.
Me too.
Well, Miss Hanson's here.
Oh, what did she show?
You've been here for the whole time. Do you have any questions?
Do either of you have a favorite character that you've written in this play?
Leo
Lamb.
There's a character named Leo Lamb, which was kind of a little joke for us, and we stemmed him off of the stereotypical, like, goofball, gets drunk on the weekends, sarcastic guy. But we twisted things around, so he's got this side of him that you only see briefly, where you kind of fall in love with him as a person and not just as a stereotype. Mm-hmm. So I like him because he's quite dynamic.
Nice. So, I mean, you've written a play, so this is your play, and it's probably going to do really well. Where does a play like that go from here? Like, if it's a great play, like, I know books can get published. I guess plays get published too. How does that work?
I have no idea.
I don't know. No idea.
Well, it's time to find an agent. Time to find an agent and figure that out.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Anything else this year you're looking forward to?
Just the spring play.
Yeah.
I think we both miss acting.
Yeah.
Being
Yeah.
a director is, it's fun, but it's not the same experience as being on stage. So I can't wait to get back on stage.
Do you think it would have been possible to write yourself into the play?
I wish.
Would that be weird, though, directing yourself?
It would be double the stress, I think.
Right.
But at the same time, then we'd have the confidence of knowing that we were doing it the way that we wanted to.
Uh-huh. So how did you guys get to this point? I mean, did I teach you in grade 9?
Yeah, you did.
I can't remember now.
You were a science teacher, yeah.
Science, yes. So how did you, when did you guys start drama? Was it, earlier on in high school?
It was for me.
For me, I really got into drama in grade 8 when we did the rotation, and then I
Right.
did it again in grade 9. I never really thought that was, my thing, but, it's weird to say it like that. But then I immediately was on stage, and I was like, wow, I love it. This is what I want to do. And I'm glad, because I met a bunch of amazing people, like Alyssa and all my friends. So
That's part of it, too, the camaraderie when you're in the same play and working for long hours, right?
Mm-hmm. Kayla and I spend the majority of our spare time together talking about or working on the play. So we were close before this, but I think we've gotten a lot closer just through this process, which is really nice. We're making a lot of friends and strengthening friendships just through theater, so it's a bonus.
yeah.
Cool. So, I mean, you talked about the feeling of being on stage for the first time. Mm-hmm. So, and that kind of turned you on to the fact that, this is kind of neat. What was that feeling? What were you, I guess, addicted to at that point, from that point on?
I guess the anxious excitement that you feel when you're on stage. I still get the whole shaky hands and nervousness and excitement when I'm on stage now. I still get that feeling, and I really like that feeling because it's just when you're acting, you're not you're someone else, and that's just a really exciting thing. Yeah.
What about you, Allie?
I don't even know how to describe it sometimes. It's the feeling of you worked so hard on this project and a whole bunch of people from a whole different grades are coming together for this short amount of time. It's sometimes 8 months of rehearsal for 4 nights of a play, but you get to be part of that. You know everything that happened backstage, you know what's going to happen on stage, and you kind of can't wait for everyone out there to just see the collective effort that you put into the process.
And it's just the experience overall. There's so much backstage shenanigans and just just everything. The whole experience is just amazing.
It feels like you're part of something bigger than you ever thought it could be.
When you're in a play with a cast, you're like a family. It's a good way to put it. You guys get so close, spending hours together, eating together, sharing lines together. You're just like a family, and we all look out for each other.
There's something magical that happens on the final day of the play. This is why I always like to go to the last showing. Mm-hmm. It's different. And I heard from last year's musical that they did a few things differently. They put a few jokes in there, pranks on each other and stuff like that. I love that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I think opening night is when everybody has the jitters and everything is exactly how it was in the script and in rehearsals, which is nice, but opening night is almost sometimes a bit stiff. And then, the second night is exactly, I think, where you want it to be, but closing night always has this sense of finality, so you have to do something different, but not in the way that it'll obviously mess anything important up, but something memorable. Just, we work so hard on this and this is the end, so let's have some fun with it.
Right. And I guess there's also, it feels a bit more, everybody's a bit more comfortable. I mean, even though you probably rehearsed many times, adding the element of having an audience is totally different, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Do you find yourselves playing off the audience too? Like, does that matter that they're there?
When I've been on stage, because of the stage lights, you actually can't see the audience at all. It's like staring out into a void. But I'm not kidding. But if there is something funny, especially when you say it and you hear that laughter in the distance, you definitely feel proud and you play off of that. But otherwise, you can't see their reactions, and it feels like nobody's there, but you know someone's there. So
I remember in the Man Who Came to Dinner, I said a line. And I made the audience laugh, and I made them laugh for the first time, and I like that accomplishment, proud. I was like, yeah, I did it. I did the first laugh.
But you didn't break your character and go, yes, I did.
You did backstage. I was there.
Oh, that's funny. That sounds like such an awesome experience. Can you write me into your next play? Because
Sure. What kind of character do you want to play?
I don't know, high school teacher with a podcast.
Not too
But the fun of it is becoming someone else.
That's the limits of my acting abilities.
So we'll write you as an alien from another planet who doesn't speak English.
Perfect. Miss Hanson is on the stage a lot, right?
I've had my fair share of time on the stage, yeah. Musicals and dance.
Right. I guess it's the same type of feeling. You get on the stage and then you play to the audience, and there's that feeling of accomplishment.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you get a reaction from them, like you were saying, it just feels so good. Yeah.
Unless they boo you.
It doesn't feel so great, but at least you know they're watching,
reaction.
I guess. I don't know. Like, just getting some sort of reaction is... and I think last time Mr. Turpin was talking about the difference. Some people say there's a good audience or a bad audience. There's not really. There's just ones who kind of participate more. They laugh at the jokes, they clap really hard, as opposed to kind of people who are afraid. And some people don't know that you can laugh at jokes. You're allowed to make noises in the audience if it's in reaction to the play.
And then there are the critics who come and say, oh, it's just a high school play. And they're very
You hear
picky.
from the critics at a high school play?
Not legitimate critics, but people come and say, oh, it's just a high school play. We don't have any expectations for this. But I hope that people do come with no expectations, and I hope that we make them think, oh, wow, that was good for a high school play.
I'm sure they'll be pleasantly surprised.
My high school, they used to have little write-ups in the local paper, and so that was nervous then, having the local drama arts guy come show up, and you always knew which night they were there. They made it known, no pranks or anything that night.
That would add a totally different dynamic. Then you're kind of nervous about that.
Yeah, you kind of focus on that one person, even though there's a whole audience full of people, you know that one person is there. So it's kind of nice that it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think, I don't think that would be good for the play.
It's usually okay.
Yeah.
It's usually they go pretty well. Sometimes they're not always the best reviews,
I think I'm more nervous for my friends and family to see it.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to tell them anything. Because it's very top secret. My mom doesn't even know what the play is about. So everybody has all these expectations, and we're kind of feeling the pressure right now.
Like, literally, the only things I've told my mom is the name of the play. I was like, it's unknown, and the lead is Ty and Rebecca. That's it. And she's like, okay.
She'll be here all 3 nights just so she can really get the full experience.
Yeah.
Funny story about how the play ended up being called Unknown. It was the first day of writing, and we were working on a program called Writer Duet, and you had to put in a title for the title page, and we just put in Unknown because we didn't know what it was called yet. And when we printed up the scripts for the actors, we still hadn't decided on a name because we were going to ask the actors after the first read-through to collectively kind of decide on one. And everyone was like, why don't we just keep it Unknown? And that ended up working quite well for the play.
That's perfect for what you're talking about.
So it was a nice fluke. It made things easier.
Have you had anything like really crazy happen during one of your performances?
Yes. During the for our play, or just in general?
In general.
During the matinee of The Man Who Came to Dinner, one of our actors, Elizabeth Trottier, was in a sarcophagus.
Yeah.
and it was supposed to be wheeled off stage, but as they were wheeling it off stage, it fell over.
Yep.
With no padding or anything inside the sarcophagus. And the actors on stage just kept going. And at one point they lifted it open a little bit and she gave them a thumbs up to say that she was conscious. And they kept going with the scene, but everyone backstage was freaking out, is she okay? Is she conscious? But afterwards I had somebody in the audience ask me, was that supposed to happen? And I said, yeah.
I remember some people coming up to me, wow, the moment where she fell over, that was the best part. I was
so you guys did it every night from that point on?
No. Elizabeth's safety was more important.
Any other stories?
I don't think so. Nothing that intense. Obviously, there have been little moments. At one point, I was on stage with a character who was my husband, and we were supposed to be having this really angry conversation with each other where some very key points were made, and he skipped, I think, 6 of his lines. And my next line was in reaction to the line that he was supposed to say, and I couldn't say it anymore.
Yeah.
And I was on stage trying to figure out what to do, and that was very scary. I don't even remember what I ended up saying, but I could see the fear in his eyes when he realized that he didn't say his lines. So it was funny in the long run.
That's why improv comes in handy. So does every actor do improv? I guess you would have to learn how to do it.
Mm-hmm. We try and do improv exercises when we can. Unfortunately, drama class this year is next semester, so we haven't done a lot of exercises because we simply don't have time. We don't want to keep people here very late because we know that we have 26 actors and they all have lives outside of rehearsals. But we do improv whenever we can and small exercises when we can, just to try and teach them the basics. But there's also improv club, which we are unfortunately not a part of due to our schedules, but some of our actors are in improv club, I think specifically for the play. So that's
26 actors. That sounds like a lot. Is that the typical amount, or
it's actually, I think, a little bit more than usual. But we casted everyone who auditioned.
Right.
Yeah. We didn't make any cuts, and that was very important to us.
We actually had to write in new,
we wrote in 2 new characters.
Wow. Okay. So how many main characters do you have, would you say?
We have
2 leads.
2 leads, and we have 4 or 5 major characters, and the rest are either supporting or minor.
Right.
There are 8 characters who don't have any lines whatsoever. But they're still there, and they're still very much important. And then we have a core group of people who are the supporting characters. And then our 2 leads are Rebecca and... what's her last name? I don't know. Sorry, Rebecca. And Ty Stadel. So those are our 2 leads, which we're definitely working one-on-one with the most.
Do you get a lot of one-on-one time?
We put it into our schedule.
You do?
Yeah.
So this is, I guess because there's 2 of you, one of you can do the rehearsal with the group, and then one of you can pull some actors aside? Is that how it works? Or?
We're typically always together.
Okay.
What we do is we'll have scheduled days where only Ty and Rebecca are called to rehearsals. So we have that time with them because they have a lot of scenes where it's just them on stage. So it's very important that we get those down because they're very important.
Or sometimes we would call just the friends, and Ty and Rebecca can have a day off. And so on.
So that's why we have it kind of split up into groups.
Okay. And what about your sets? Because I'm just starting to think about all the parts that have to come together. It's not just about the acting and the script and the set. Is there music? The lighting?
Yep, there's music, yep.
Oh my goodness.
All of the above. Our set I'm glad, is very minimal this year. A lot of the stuff that we are using for our set we already have, or it'll be very easy to obtain. I know that we're using some of the walls from the haunted house because we are building an entirely new wall within the drama room and then another wall.
It's a good thing they did a good job of the walls in the haunted
Yeah,
house.
for sure, because those are coming in handy. We need to have this set up by the end of this week, and we have none of it up. So it's going to be a fun time. But I think we're also looking for approval to paint the drama room floor, and we got to touch up the walls and make everything look really good, because what we're doing is as soon as you walk through the drama room doors, you are in the play. Like, it's kind of an immersive experience. Kayla and I saw a play together called One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah.
And as soon as you walk through the doors, you're on the floor. Like, you are in the hospital, and there's clipboards, there's props, and you walk across the hospital floor to get to your seats.
It was so submersive. You were just...
You saw that?
It was
so
incredible.
Good.
It was
Where was
amazing. Studio 58.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, right when you walk in, you'd see, like, medical charts, and you would see, like, all the chairs and lounges that they would sit in, and you're like, oh my god.
You had to walk across the stage to get to your seat.
Oh, really?
And for our play...
the only way in.
For our play, you're walking through a door, and then you're walking through a fake door, and as soon as you walk through that door, you're on the stage, and you go to your seat.
That's awesome. I'm really looking forward to this one. Because I don't think I've ever experienced that. That's very cool.
It's definitely something different.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, January 11th,
12th and 13th.
12th and 13th.
Yeah.
Tickets are $8. Where do we get tickets?
We'll be selling them in front of the library
Yes.
at lunch.
Yes, at lunch. In front of the library at lunch. We don't have actually an exact way of getting tickets out decided at this point, but that is probably our plan. You will hear about it on the announcements. And for cast members who have outside family and friends, each cast member is going to get 10 tickets. And they can get more if they want to, but each cast member is responsible for selling those 10 tickets. So, please come see it.
Well, for sure. I'm sure everybody's going to come and see it with this introduction to it. Sounds really awesome. Congratulations on writing your first play.
Thank you.
I'm sure it's going to go really well.
I hope so.
Yes, it will.
It will.
This is amazing to talk to you guys about this, because it is your first play, and it's just fascinating when it's the first time to do that kind of thing, especially something so huge that you've taken on. Because, like I said, it's not just writing the play; it's directing, it's managing everything. So, congratulations!
Thank you.
Thank you.
And see you at the play.
I hope to see you too.
Yeah.